Okay, in this video we'll just look at some examples with of in it, and remember that of means multiply, so we'll do these examples. Then we'll look at when you're given a number and you've got to square it, what do you do? Then we'll look at some distributive property examples with fractions, these three examples. And so let's start with when you've got find 2/3 of 36. Now you might remember that of means multiply. Of course you can try and do that in your head. I mean, what do you think 1/3 of 36 would be? 1/3 of 36? 36 divided is 12, right? So 2/3 would be 24. Anyway, but we can calculate that a little bit easier with math, because if of means multiply, then 2/3 of 36 becomes 2/3 multiplied by 36, right? And can you write 36 as a fraction? Well, let's do it now. 36 over 1, right? And it's kind of nice to cross cancel first before you multiply, because it kind of simplifies things a bit. So doesn't 3 go into 36? So what about 3 into 3 goes once? Look at this. 3 into 3 goes how many times? Once. 3 into 6? Twice, right? So this gives us 2 times 12. 24 over 1 times 1 is 1, and what does that give? 24 divided by 1 is 24, right? Okay, how about this guy? What is 2/5 of the sum of 8 and 12? The sum of 8 and 12, what's that? Have you ever heard of that? The sum of something is when you add, okay? So the sum of 8 and 12 is in fact 8 plus 12. And just to be a little bit theoretical, 2/5 of this would be 2/5 times that. And you can't just, like, to completely times it by the sum, you would have to put parentheses around that. You see what I mean? Because the sum of 8 and 12 is 20, you see, and we should be getting 2/5 of 20. 2/5 times 20, right? So anyway, the of there turned into multiply. So anyway, 2/5 times 20, turn 20 into a fraction. 20 over 1, right? Now multiply and cross cancel, then multiply, see what happens. 5 into 5 goes once, 5 into 20 goes 4 times. So that gives us 8 over 1, which is 8, right? How about this guy? 4/5 of 1/4 of 55. There's 2 ofs in there. And to turn that directly into math, here's what you do. You'll probably guess it. 4/5 times 1/4. Because 4/5 of a quarter is 4/5 times a quarter. And then this of, 55 is times that by 55. The other thing is, you might want to turn 55 into a fraction. Turn 55 into a fraction. 55 over 1, right? Now cross cancel common factors, see what happens. If you cross cancel common factors, how about the 4s? Are they a 4 in the top, 4 in the bottom? See that? So 4 into 4 goes once, 4 into 4 goes once. How about, what else have we got? 5 and 55? 5 into 5 goes once, 5 into 55? 11, isn't it? So we get 1 times 1 times 11, that's 11, over 1 times 1 times 1 is 1, and 11 over 1 is 11. Alright, so let's have a look at what do you do if they say, okay, the number x is this column, and then what's the square x squared? Well, first of all, you just start with one number at a time, so you don't get too confused. Because look, what they're saying is, if the number is 2, what's the square? Well, the square root of that is 2 squared, right? Simple as that. You just put a squared on it. You can put it in parentheses if you want to. That doesn't matter. 2 squared then, of course, is 4, right? And you calculate that. Oh, sorry, I should have written that out, because it's 2 times 2, isn't it? 2 squared is 2 times 2, which is 4. Okay, then we go to 3. What's the square of 3? Well, it's 3 to the power of 2, right? And that gives us 3 times 3, which is 9. Okay, get the square root of 4 now. X is 4, what's x squared? Isn't it 4 squared? Yep. Which is 4 times 4, which is 16. Okay. How about these guys? A half, a third, and a quarter. Well, let's just start with one at a time. Start with a half. If the number is a half, what's the square, or x squared? Well, it is whatever that number is, and I'm going to use parentheses. Whatever that number is, squared. So you just take a half and you square it. And we did these already. If you square a half, the square is on the parentheses, so that's parenthesis times parenthesis. In other words, 1/2 times 1/2, which is, multiply the tops, 1, multiply the bottoms, 4, 1/4, right? How about a third? 1/3, and then we've got to get 1/3 squared, don't we? So 1/3 squared is 1/3 times a third, right? I'll calculate that and then try the quarter. So 1/3 times a third. 1 times 1 is 1. 3 times 3 is 9. How about a quarter? Can you do that one by yourself? One quarter, if I square that guy, we'll be getting a quarter of a quarter. That's going to be a small number, isn't it? 1/4 times a quarter, 1/4 of a quarter. Give me a quarter of a quarter. Well, here's a quarter. If I ask for a quarter of a quarter, it's not much money, is it? That's not even a whole cent amount. It's 1/16 of a dollar. Okay. It's about 6 1/4 cents is what it is. But anyway, this thing to notice, of course, one of the things you can notice about this is, look, when you've got a fraction like a quarter, and you square it, you get a smaller number, don't you? You see, if you've got a third and you square it, a ninth is smaller. If you take a half and square it, you get a quarter, and that's smaller than the half. But when you've got these numbers start with these numbers that are bigger than 1, like 2, if you square 2, you get 4. If you square 3, you get 9. That's more. If you square 4, you get 16. That's more. So squared fractions become less, and squared whole numbers become more. Do you see that?